Welcome back, dear viewers, and you are still watching the Breakfast Show. And in this segment of our program, we will talk about the economic reform program which the government intends to implement in the coming period. And we are joined over the phone by Mr. Amr Saleh. He is an economic expert. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Shireen.
So,
Good
sir,
morning.
what are the objectives of the new structural reform program?
Well, this is not a new reform program. This is the continuation of the reform program that started in 2016. And after the success of the first phase, you remember, Shireen, that in 2015-16, the international institutions were not really optimistic about the program because of the high rate of inflation and the social problems that Egypt, the social and the political problems that Egypt have seen after 2011, and we had a rate of growth, a dramatic rate of growth at that time. In 2012, a dramatic rate of growth of 1.8%, with an employment rate that reached 14%, and this was really the worst scenario that a country could see. So when we started the reform program, the IMF and the World Bank were really not quite sure about the success. There were lots of impediments, but however, in 2017, 18, and 19, things went very well, and it was really a success story. And even the World Bank and the IMF, they were really not quite sure of of how the program is going to be lead and what are going to be the costs. Said that this is an impressive program, and they were not quite sure how it's going to end. And they even said that this is a success story. And I'm even going to quote the IMF from their country focus, whether they said that the program. They help to strengthen the growth, to reduce unemployment, to increase foreign exchange reserve, and put the public debts on a down path. These are the words and the comments of the IMF. So coming back to your question about the new program, this is a revision of the program. You know that in political economy, like in any of the reform design or any design, when you design policies, Shireen, you have to review the policies, especially when you're talking about indicators, economic and social indicators. So what's happening now in that the government is reviewing what was done and designing the next phase, especially that we went through a very difficult moment, very tough time. I'm talking about the COVID-19 period. It was very tough. However, you may agree that even the international organization have said that Egypt is going to be the only country in the MENA region, I'm repeating, the only country in the MENA region that is going to have a positive rate of growth. At the beginning of the crisis, they said it's going to be 2, and then it was reviewed to 2.5, and then 3. Lately, I think a week ago, they mentioned that the economic growth is going to be around 3.5%, which is really a success story, while most of the countries, all the countries in the region are going to have a negative rate of growth. So coming back to your question, yes, you need to review what was done, and you need to review your indicators. You have to plan for the next period of time, especially that we are looking to increase more FDIs, foreign direct investments. We reach a very good rate of growth of the reserve. Talking about the country reserve, the currency reserve also, 44 or 45, 46 billion of dollars. You know, in 2011, 2012, we were at 11. So we're talking from 11 to 47, which is a record. So you need to increase these reserves, or at least to sustain these reserves. You have to continue the fiscal reforms that were undertaken. You need to study how you're going to attract new foreign direct investments, especially that you have undertaken lots of public investments in infrastructure projects. President Abdel Sisi was in France days ago, and I was asked by UTV about the conclusions of the visit, and we've seen that France and lots of countries are interested in being a part of the infrastructure projects in Egypt, and that we have enormous infrastructure plans that were undertaken during the last years. So during the coming years, we need to know where we stand, what was done, and how are we going to continue these projects in the coming years.
So, Mr. Amr, the Minister of Planning, said that structural reforms aim to diversify Egypt's economy and increase its flexibility. How can this be achieved?
Yeah, because, and this question was raised many times, during COVID-19, people have said, how come that we're in a crisis and the country has found lots of money and are allocating lots of money, especially the 100 billion Egyptian pounds that the President of Al-Sisi have claimed and have decided to put in place as a shield, a social shield for the marginalized people, for the SMEs, and to help the country to overcome the crisis. So we've said that if we were not able to take courageous reforms, we've said that our rate of growth went from 1.82% and went up to 6.5%, which was a record, which was the biggest and the highest, Shireen, this was the highest rate of growth all over the world, one of the highest rate of growth all over the world, 6.5%, 6%. So if we were not able, if we didn't have this political will, I would say, and the consultative process and people believing that we have to undertake these reforms, we have to go through difficult time. We have to be united, and as the President of Al-Sisi was always saying, that we have to be united. And this is one of the ways for the country to overcome the difficult moments. And the country did it, and the government did it, and people were sure that the country is going to overcome these difficult moments. So coming back to your question, how we have found the money? The money came from the reforms, as the Minister Hala Said said, and Minister Hala Said didn't say this only, but she has explained the income and the outcome, the incomes and the outcome, and the explanation of Dr. Hala. Allow me, Shireen, to salute Dr. Hala. She has recently got the best prize. She had got the best prize for the best minister from Dubai weeks ago, and she deserves that. She's managing enormous files, economic files, social files, planning files, restructuring files, and she was able to explain in a very clear way what was the incomes, what did the country gain from the economic reform program, and how this economic reform program has helped the country and Egypt to find funds to sustain and to fund also the social needs and the economic needs of the country.
So finally, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Amr Saleh, economic expert. Thank you, sir, for this precious information. And by that, dear viewers, we come to the end of today's edition of The Breakfast Show. I'm Sheena Adel, and I was joined today by my colleague, Dina Hussein. Thank you for watching.